You see they're dry. You see there's no marrow in the bone. You see they're scattered all over the valley. They ain't even full skeletons. I mean, the bones are scattered all over the valley. They're just bones. But answer me a question, Ezekiel. Can these bones live? Ezekiel answers the only way he knows how to answer. Lord, you know. Critical race theory was born out of critical legal theory. Am I teaching y'all something today? There emerged two common beliefs linking all critical race theories. First, white supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's just a fact. How in the world are you going to fight against that being taught in any school? White supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's a fact. Why don't you want that to be taught in school? You let your schools teach us that Columbus discovered America. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that George Washington couldn't tell a lie. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that some slave owners were beneficent and good slave owners. There were no good slave owners. Anybody who owned people was evil. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that Abraham Lincoln was good for Negroes. No, Abraham Lincoln was trying to save the Union. And Abe Lincoln himself said if he could save the Union and keep black people in chains, he would do it. That's a lie. Come on, somebody. You let them teach us about a white Jesus. You let them teach us that Native Americans were the aggressors. Come on, somebody. That white folk had a manifest destiny and that the pilgrims were good to Native Americans. That's a lie. All day, every day, you let them teach us lies. All throughout my history in school, I was taught lies. But you got a problem with critical race theory because it teaches the truth that white supremacy has subordinated black people and people of color. The right to bear arms. Let me just back up a little bit and let me take you on back to the late 1960s when Ronald Reagan was the governor of California. And they were oppressing black folk, and a group of men and women known as the Black Panther Party decided that they were going to defend the rights of black folk. And the Black Panthers decided that the Second Amendment wasn't just for white folk. So they strapped themselves with guns and showed up at the Capitol in California. And when they saw them Negroes with guns, come on, somebody. That's why I say if you ever really want to get gun laws changed, just strap all these Negroes up. They'll change them laws before the week is over. When the Black Panthers, watch this, I want you to read, the California legislator passed what was called the Mulford Act. It was a gun control act that decided who could get guns, who couldn't get guns, what could be in your background, what couldn't be in your background. It was the first time in history that the National Rifle Association, the NRA, supported restrictive gun legislation, all because black folk had the nerve to get strapped. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, go get strapped. Amen, somebody. Y'all gonna say Bishop told us to get strapped. I said it. Go get strapped. It just got real quiet up in here. But y'all already know I'm a triple P. Amen. Y'all know what a triple P is, right? A pistol packing preacher. Amen, somebody. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. You've got a responsibility to go back to Lavar. Your work's not done just because you made it to the palace. Bless the name of the Lord. But you've got a responsibility to help somebody else make it across. Thank you, Jesus. Don't pull up the ladder because you climbed to the top. Don't blow up the bridge because you made your way across. Thank you, Jesus. But reach your hand back down the ladder and pull somebody else up out of Lavar. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Bless the name of the Lord. Somebody got to tell themselves it's all right if you got it now. Just hold it for me. I'll be there to get it after a while. Oh, bless the name of the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. You've got to make up in your mind that what God has for me, it is for me. I might not have it right now. I may not get it next week. You might try to stop me from getting it. But if God said it's mine, I want you to know after a while, I'm going to get what belongs to me. Sometimes God got to strip what you got so you don't depend on yourself. He got to take away from you so you understand how to depend on El Shaddai. Come on in here. All right. Thank you, Jesus. Our young people are dying. Cracked out. Suicidal. 90.7 WTCC. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. And as usual, we'll be telling it like it is through cultural idioms and nuances that shape the order, ethos, and chaos of the African American experience. Words have their own vitality. They shape their own consciousness and create their own context for interpreting social and spiritual reality. The spoken word contains the power to reshape the landscape of society. 4 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. And I want to thank Mr. Kenneth Barnett for bringing us up until the 9 o'clock hour with The Promise. And you can hear The Promise every Monday morning from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., bringing you the best in gospel music. Good way to start out your Monday morning, a great way to start out your week. Listen, I've got a very busy power-packed show going on today. During this spoken word hour, going to talk a little bit on the subject of why are black folks attacking other black folk for holding Democrats accountable. Okay? I need to know what's going on with y'all. And then I have half past the hour, Ward 5 City Council candidate Lavar Click will be coming on and talking about his candidacy. He'll be talking about his vision, for the ward and what he plans to do if elected to the city council. During the Justice and Flow Hour after show, those of you who are on the radio, you'll have to come on to social media. During Justice and Flow, we have got Secretary of State candidate Tanisha Sullivan, who is going to be with us, talking about her candidacy for that statewide office. And so a lot going on today. Tell a friend, tell somebody the bishop is on the air right now. Rep your city, rep your town. Let us know where you're chiming in from. Definitely interested in seeing where from throughout the world our listeners are at. And then like, share, subscribe, comment. Again, like, share, subscribe, comment. Welcome back to my Instagram audience. Hey, I was out of Instagram for the last 3 weeks. Anyway. Y'all know the story. I used the clown emoji, and they said I violated the rules, and they wouldn't let me go live. And then all of a sudden, bam! I could go live again, and that warning on my account magically disappeared. So I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but let's take advantage of it at least for the week that I'm allowed to be on, because I don't know if I'll be on next week because they're so inconsistent with these things. So for right now, we're going to enjoy being on the gram, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook. So share it. Let a friend know Bishop is on the right now. And we're going to be talking about a few things. 413-337-1867 for those of you in radio land. Of course, those of you on social media, you can always just put your comment in. Let me know what's happening. Once again, I need y'all to rep your cities, rep your towns. I need to know where y'all coming in from. Tell somebody. If you're in the Twitter space, you know what to do. You put in your request, and we'll get you on. I'm going to play a little bit of the spoken word, and then we'll be right back. Don't y'all go nowhere. Let me give you a little bit of Rhonda Swan. Of course, my favorite from her. I like what I see. We'll be right back. Don't go nowhere.
I look in the mirror and I like what I see. A strong, beautiful black woman staring back at me. One who's seen a lot of pain and had her share of sorrow, but who never gave up hope for a brighter tomorrow. I've been lied to, cheated on, stolen from and hit, but it just made me stronger and I refuse to quit. That's right. And though I've been tempted, I refuse to stoop to their level. Don't go down. I rose above that nonsense and made a liar of the devil. All right now. The devil who said I wasn't good enough, cute enough, or worthy of love, I kicked his butt with divine power from above. Power that says I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. All right. And brought me out of darkness so that I could see that I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm a child of the King. Abundant love for me, he came to bring. Oh yes, when I look in the mirror, I love what I see. She's looking good. That strong, beautiful black woman, that woman is me. Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, Daddy.
A positive attitude says everything about you. Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Every day you get up, you've been given a gift. That's why we call it the present. And it's up to you of how you unwrap it. So yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery, today is a gift. Pain of your past bleed into your present and poison your future. Stop replaying the movie. Why did this happen to me? When it's done with you, be done with it. If it seems like you keep running into pigeons, it's an indication that you're flying too low. So set your sights a little higher. Remember, eagles fly by themselves. If you can see the invisible, you can do the impossible. Allow your challenges to be a stepping stone to propel you into new possibilities. So be discontent with your past accomplishment. You're only as great as your last success. So maintain your hunger and your passion. Remember this, within every seed there is a tree. In every tree there is a forest. Who and what you were born into is simply the environment to prepare you for your ultimate purpose. It was not a setback, it was a setup. Your purpose and potential is bigger than your past pain or problem.
The talk that he gave to you. Listen to your heart, don't let your mind fool you. Remember the talk that he gave to you. Whatever you do is gonna surely come back to you.
Successful people will do the things they hate to get the things they love. Much of life is about sacrifice. You gotta give up something to get something. Success is not about what you've accomplished, but it's what you have overcome. For it's the test that you pass in life which qualifies you for the next level. You have to be willing to face your challenges and overcome them. Most people drive 12,000 miles a year moving forward, but most accidents are caused when they move backwards. You gotta stay focused on what's ahead of you instead of what's behind you. It's your daily routine that determines your success or failure. Whatever you practice at is what you become great at. What's more important than being intelligent is having the right attitude. Respect costs you nothing, but it will cost you everything not to have it. So don't be too smart for your own good. Remember, a hard head makes a soft behind. What's more important than your five senses is common sense. The heart of a fool is in his mouth, but the heart of a wise man is in his character. So don't sweat the small things. The answer for a short temper is a long walk. Be slow to speak, quick to listen, and remember this: you haven't lived long enough to know everything. Your character is what matters most. Once you have been labeled with a bad reputation, it's hard for people to see you any other way. A good name is worth more than all the money in the world. Your life is broken up into three parts. First you learn, then you earn, and then you return. You gotta give back.
Yes, sir. Great wisdom by Ferris Hill. 413-337-1867. You're listening to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan the second, and we got a show for you today. Let's chop it up once again. 413-337-1867. 67. If you're in Radio Land, if you're in the Twitter space, hit me up with a request. And of course, the rest of y'all can just comment. I see East Long Meadow in the building. Chesapeake, Virginia is in the house. Springdale, Maryland is in the hizzy. Springfield, Massachusetts, y'all better be here. Y'all better be here. Who else we got up in the building? We got Chi-Town in the house. We got H-Town in the house. We got Philadelphia, Pennsylvania up in the house. We got Minneapolis, Minnesota up in the building. Who else is up in here? Wisconsin is in the building. Come on through. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're coming in from. I'm here in the field. Nashville, Tennessee. They up in here. Birmingham, Alabama is in the building. Somebody wants to talk already. Good morning, caller. They don't want to talk. They're listening to me because I heard me in the background. Don't be calling here hanging up on me because I saw your telephone number. 413-337-1867. I don't know if that's L.A. as in Louisiana or L.A. as in Los Angeles. Trying to chime in. Good morning, caller.
Yes, Bishop, you saw the number, but the phone shut off. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. What's good?
I thought you were going to talk about the hot topic today, number 45. He's at it again, huh?
Yeah, I haven't. I'm not paying him no attention. I haven't seen what the latest is, other than him trying to hide nuclear documents and stuff, and that whole circus that's going on with that. But none of that comes as a surprise. We knew he was an idiot long before he ever became president, and folks decided to elect him anyway.
Well, it seems like there ain't no end to him. There's always something.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you.
Okay, brother, I want to enjoy the show.
All right. Worcester, Massachusetts is in the building. Chicago is in the building. Good morning. To my Instagrammers, good to have y'all back. Good to have y'all back with us on today. Let's get into it. Let's see. I got a guest coming up shortly. Lavar Click is a candidate for city council here in Springfield in Ward 5, and he'll be with me in the after show. You won't be able to catch it if you're on the radio. It'll be after 10 o'clock. So you'll have to come over to social media, and we'll have Secretary of State candidate Tanisha Sullivan during the Justice and Flow Hour. So tell a friend, tell somebody. I'm going to play this clip of her torching William Francis Galvin. I put the ether beat to it. You're going to see it in a minute, or at least you'll hear it. Those of you who are not on social media, at least you'll be able to hear it. I think my Instagram just went out, so I have to restart that. But listen, there's been a serious attack on any black person who has the audacity to challenge Democrats. And I mean, it's crazy to me because if anybody who's followed me for any length of time, you know, there's no way in Hades that I'm a Republican plant or a Republican sycophant. You know that. You know that. Um, um, there's not a preacher in America, and that's not saying anything in a braggadocious way, it's just a fact, who went harder after Trump and the Republicans during the time he was in office than I did. Okay? I literally was all over the place during his administration in terms of challenging the foolery. If you don't believe me, go do a Google search. I mean, it was everywhere. Fox News was attacking me, every other week. White supremacists were calling my church, making death threats against me and my family, the whole nine. Every major conservative news outlet in the country was slamming me. Okay? The Daily Caller, Fox News, Breitbart, Newsmax, you name it. And then even mainstream media, Newsweek, TMZ, you name it, was covering my relentless challenging of the foolery of Trump and the Republicans. So there's no way, if you followed me for any period of time, that you think that I'm a Republican plant. Anybody saying that who has ever followed me is being completely disingenuous. However, that's the new thing among black Democrat shills now. That they've accused me and Sean King, it's crazy, of being paid by the Republican Party to challenge Democrats. Now all of a sudden I'm getting a check from the Republicans because I'm challenging Democrats in terms of their dysfunctionality, their apathy, and their disrespect of the black voters that put them in office, that gave them control of every branch of government. Now, you would think that the demographic that gave them control of every branch of government would kind of have first dibs in terms of priority. Yet, we've seen an anti-Asian hate crime bill, an anti-Jewish hate crime resolution, an executive order protecting the LGBTQ community. We've seen the Democrats work in a bipartisan way with the Republicans to award and reward all of their other constituent demographics. But somehow, someway, when it comes to black people, when it comes to delivering to us reparations, police reform, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, an anti-black hate crime bill, when it comes to delivering anything specific for black people, there's this excuse: we don't have enough people in the Senate. You got to vote harder and give us more people. Well, why y'all didn't need more people in the Senate to pass one for Asians? You were able to work with Republicans to pass it for Asians. Whenever it comes to black people, there's an excuse. And so there are some of us who are fed up, not just with the ineffectiveness of them when it comes to the concerns and issues of black people, but also with the disrespect of black people. The blatant disrespect in his first major speech before a joint session of Congress, President Biden was talking about George Floyd. He was quoting George Floyd's daughter. He was talking about the need for police reform. By the time he got to his State of the Union 10 months later, he was like, to hell with police reform and to hell with defund the police. He said, we don't need to defund the police. We need to fund them. He never mentioned voting rights. He never mentioned police reform by the time he got to his State of the Union. And the last iteration is him introducing a crime bill that is asking to spend $13 billion for 100,000 new police officers with no accountability measures. No police reform, no dealing with qualified immunity or anything else. The hell with black people and police reform. Put 100,000 new police on the streets to crack them upside the head, profile them, and extrajudiciously murder them. So it's the blatant disrespect of black people that we're challenging. And what do black people do? Instead, it's like the woman who defends her abuser. Oh, he's not that bad. Oh, he didn't mean to do it. Why, she got a black eye and broken ribs. That's what black folk are doing to those of us that have the temerity, the testicular and intestinal fortitude to challenge Democrats. Oh, you're a Republican plant. Oh, you're getting paid by the Republicans. Oh, you're telling people not to vote. Listen, I promise you, I will cash app anybody. I challenge everybody on every social media platform, anybody on the radio. I will cash app you $10,000 today. If you find me, and I ain't talking about go Photoshop nothing. You find me one tweet, one post, one quote in a newspaper article, one video where I ever told black people not to vote, I'll cash up you 10 grand today. Find it for me. Yet we got these handkerchief head Negroes talking about Bishop Swan is encouraging black people not to vote. You're a liar, and your mama is too. I have never told black people not to vote. Never, ever, ever. Now, have I told them to be very careful with their votes? Have I told them not to blindly vote according to party loyalty? Yes. I've told y'all to vote black, not blue or red. What do I mean by that? Vote in the best interest of you, your family, and your people. And if that means getting some Democrats out of office, so be it. So be it. But I have never told anyone not to vote. And for those of you who are on social media saying that nonsense, you're a liar. You and the devil. Good morning, caller. Okay, you want to play games? 413-337-1867. Yeah, I don't know if you were having some difficulty or if you were playing games, but anyway. But that's what's happening. That's what's happening right now. Anybody holding them accountable is being attacked, and scurrilous accusations are coming up against them. Good morning, Aunt Marion. Oh, you're being paid by the Republicans. I need to get these checks. The irony of this is, listen, brothers and sisters, when I was attacking Trump, when I was giving all kinds of smoke to Trump and the Republicans, all of the conservatives were accusing me of getting paid by George Soros. I was getting paid by the Democrats. Now that I'm holding Democrats accountable, I'm getting paid by the Republicans. I ain't got no check yet from either party. Where's my check? Okay. Your mama. Let me block this caller because somebody is one of the trolls, of course. I'm a troll attractor. Um, I'm just gonna shut the phone line down because I ain't got time for the foolishness. But for some reason, I attract trolls. But I ain't got a check yet from either party. But everybody is always trying to accuse me of being paid. Like black men, like we don't have our own faculties. We don't have our own mind. We can't think for ourselves. And if I've got a platform and I'm publicly speaking, that there's a puppet master behind the scenes pulling my strings, and some kind of way they're controlling my narrative and what I have to say. I'm too smart for that. And you're dumb for even thinking that. Let me get one person up in the Twitter space, and then I'm going to bring in Lavar Click, our guest, J Money. Let me get J Money in here. J Money, you got the floor, bro. Unmute your mic.
Yes, sir. What's up, Mr. Bishop? How you doing?
I'm good. You?
I'm doing good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. What's on your mind?
Just commenting about what you said. Thank you. I feel like nowadays, black people or black men, they attack.
Say that one more time.
So I was saying that it's almost like black people are just getting attacked just for no reason now. So
right. It's like liberal white folks basically are telling us just shut up and vote Democrat, and then the diehard black Democrats are saying the same thing. Listen. The same people who were applauding me, who were gung ho, oh, we love Bishop Swan when I was attacking Trump, are the same ones who are telling me sit down, shut up, and tell people to vote blue. Now all of a sudden they don't want me to talk.
Were they Trump supporters? That's probably why.
No. I know. I'm talking about the liberal white folks and black folks who were applauding me during the Trump administration for being relentless against them are now telling me to shut up and not challenge our people to challenge the Democrats that are in office. It's crazy, but that's the way it goes. Let me get our guest on. Lavar Click is the candidate for Ward 5 City Council in the city of Springfield. Good morning, brother. Okay, I can't hear some. Let's work on your audio. You're not muted on this side, so something on your end is happening where I can't hear you.
Hear me now? Bishop?
I got you now, bro. How you feel?
All right. I feel great.
How are you? I'm good. So, you're running for Ward 5 City Council, big election. Tell us a little bit about why you decided to run, why you think you're the best candidate, and what you want people to do after today.
First of all, I want to thank you for your support has been to me throughout the years. Also to your wife, I want to First Lady Swan as well.
Yes, sir.
Why I decided to run Bishop? I just was sick and tired of the city. I just wanted to make a change. change.
I want
I want
to
do for our people. And
I was told
to always give back.
and did that on a smaller scale.
Did that on a smaller scale,
As
doing things
in
in the community,
but
working
to the city council
council
gave
gave
me
me
kind of insight
insight to say this.
I know I want to do
I know
it.
I want to do it.
I didn't, but when
Marcus Williams
died,
died,
I decided to
run for city council.
Yeah, yeah. That provided a definitely an opportunity for someone to kind of step into that particular position and to advance the cause of our community. I know you've always been involved in community in some way, shape, or form. Mainly, helping to shape uh, the future generation of young people in your work as a coach and at the Dunbar Community Center, and even before then. How important is it for them to see you step up and get involved at this level?
Yeah, Bishop, it's very important. Didn't realize at a young age, quite frankly, I understood what my dad was trying to teach me. So now, I my students who I'm coaching, making sure that they're knowing about the process. I should letting them know that our local act, what we do here. I try to let them know what's every chance that I get. I'm making sure I'm using basketball as a tool to get their attention. Using something that they love, and then something is going to affect them when they become young, full-grown adults. That's going to be. So I try to get them involved early now, but some is definitely going to get it later. That they
Absolutely
see me.
Now, what I know you've been out there, you've probably been interacting with the constituents in the ward. A couple things. One, what has that been like, the direct interaction with people in the ward? And then the second thing I want to ask is, because we switched over, I think in 2009, to a ward-based system from an all at-large system. Talk about the I guess the difference in having to really just target Ward 5 as opposed to if you were running citywide and had that larger swath of the public that you had to deal with.
Yeah. So the first question, really grassroots, knocking on constituents' concerns, and frankly, in Ward 5 specifically, and a part of Mason Square, quite frankly, people want to feel safe. Obviously, we talk about our education, programming, and different things that go on, speeding, a lot on the trail, and to focus on immediate impact is working with to come up with a plan for our C3 in our Mason Square areas and different areas. Sure, we have a presence in that. And Bishop, this morning, to my cars in in 1380 way. Someone broke it to my car, my car,
Wow.
my wife's car. So I'm really hit home. So I'm going to advocate public safety and safety communities, whether it's Ward 5 or out there. And to touch on the representation, which I knew years ago, and I appreciate
you doing that is quite frankly ours. But this opportunity came up to your voting pool. Now I'm happy for the opportunity because without going to be able to do this, let me say, so it gave me the opportunity to run. It's important because we ward and it gives each constituent in the city or a city councilor where they can call represent their ward specifically, all the in citywide.
So what we're gonna do to finish this interview, I'm gonna have you call in. For whatever reason, the audio's a little choppy, and I want people to hear clearly what you have to say. I just text you the number here. I want you to call in so we can finish this conversation.
Okay, Bishop.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm going to have him call in. I know the audio was getting a little choppy, and sometimes, the wonders of modern technology is what you can do with it. Instead of being in the studio, I can be sitting in the man cave like I am, and he can be in his car, and we can still have a conversation. Oh, that was him. I'm sure that was him. He'll call in again, but we'll get him in. And good morning.
Good morning, Bishop.
Yes, sir. Sound much better right there.
Okay.
Yeah. So, what's the feeling like out there? I mean, what are you feeling about the election? Do you have a good feeling about it? And what are your hopes for? It's obvious what your hopes are going to be for this election. But I'll ask you that anyway. What are your hopes going forward?
Yeah, Bishop, I feel good. As a former athlete, like I said earlier in another forum, I'm kind of fat now, but I used to be a competitor. And Bishop, I put in the work. Hot days, summer, going out on the grind and really touch as many doors as possible. So I feel great. I've done the work. The results are going to be the results. So you can live with the results when you feel confident that you did the work.
Yeah.
Now, if you didn't do the work, then you're like, I don't know. But I know I put the work in. We grinded, not just me, my team grinded with me and made sure they supported me throughout the process. Again, I don't want to get, I teach my students that it's not about me. But I had a team behind me that worked hard and behind the scenes doing some great things for me. So I also want to thank my team for that. And my hope is obviously to be in the top two, but make no bones about it. I want to top the ticket.
Yeah.
Make sure we have the momentum going into September 13th. So that those are my goals. I'm not hesitant. I'm not wavering. I feel I'm the best candidate for the job. My track record speaks for itself. I stand on my own merit. So I have all these things that I have done. I think has prepared me for a time. So for such a time as this.
Gotcha. Was it a difficult decision? I mean, you were already embedded, working in the mayor's office. Kind of doing your thing, coaching, and so you already have a busy professional life, as well as being married. Raising a family, etc. And this would be an added layer to everything else that you're already doing. So was it a difficult decision to decide, hey, you know what, I'm gonna throw my hat in and take on this challenge?
No, it wasn't a difficult decision because something I've been thinking about for a while. Obviously, I had some close family and friends that I had to consult, but I also first and foremost reached out to my wife, and she's been very supportive every step of the way. And then we had a family meeting with my family. I had to let them know this is what we're going to do, and 100% they were behind me. And I had to let them know some things that they're going to have to be cognizant of and making sure that they're aware of what's going on, because I know what I'm embarking on. I know what the challenges are going to come with that. What have may. But I believe, Bishop, that in order to make change, you have to be in the room. You have to be in the room, and you have to be in position to make change. Again, not only for our community, but for the betterment of the city of Springfield. Because I want to see the city of Springfield just flourish. Man, I love this city. I love everything about the city. We have a lot going on. I don't ever want to move from here. I'm planted here, and I want to make sure that we have the best resources for our city. We have the best relationship with our policing. I want to make sure our seniors are taken care of. And in order to do that, you got to be at the table. So,
Yeah.
Again, it wasn't a hard decision. It was a decision that I knew I was going to make at some point in time. And when Marcus Williams, and I thank Marcus for his service, when he resigned, it just gave me the opportunity to fast track that decision.
There's some who want to know what would a victory in November is if you're one of the top two, and then you move on to a victory in November. What would that mean in terms of your current position in the mayor's office?
Yeah. So, Bishop, I just want to clarify what it's a special election. So we're going August 16th, and then we have a quick turnaround for September 13th. So it's a quick turnaround. It's not on the
Right.
normal election cycle.
Correct.
So a lot of folks don't even know that. So that's why we're trying to advocate and let people know that they're informed of what's going on.
Let's say that again. So because I probably threw people off by throwing November because I got that in my mind because I was talking about it later.
Yeah.
Yes, tomorrow is, for all intents and purposes, the primary. It'll pare it down to two of the top two, and then September will be the election because this is a special election.
Yeah, September 13th. So the date to remember is August 16th, which is tomorrow. Knocks it down to the top two, and then September 13th will be the election.
So if after September you're the man, what happens with the mayor's office? That's what some folks are asking.
I've already had a conversation with the mayor, so he's already aware. It'll be bittersweet, but I'll be resigning my position effective whenever I take oath as a city council. So I will no longer be the mayoral aide to Dominic Sarno. So that will be my stance, and then I'll have to embark on a new career.
Gotcha. So all kinds of things are going to change for you. But you're ready and poised for the challenge.
Yes, for sure. I'm definitely ready. I'm ready to take on this challenge. It's something that I've been thinking of for quite some time.
So talk about tomorrow. Tell them when the polls open, how important it is to get out and vote. And we already have an issue with low voter turnout, even in regular elections, and this is a special election. So it's important to push folk to collect their cousins and those that live in Ward 5 that are eligible to get out to vote.
Yeah. So I know you were talking about this earlier. It's important that we vote. Now, obviously, I want folks to come out and vote for Lavar Click Bruce. Don't get me wrong. However, everyone has a voice. So you have to make it your business to come out tomorrow and vote on August 16th. The polls open at 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. We have no excuses now to say we can't vote or it doesn't affect me or I don't care and all this stuff. We had mail-in voting that was going on. We had in-person voting ahead of time that you could have went to City Hall. But now the time is now. August 16th. Come out and vote. Get your friends, like Bitch said, get your cousins to them, Pookie, Ray, and all of them. Have them come out. Make sure that they're registered. If they're not registered, hey, we get them for September. But, rile them up, get them to the polls and vote.
Yeah.
Your voice needs to be heard. Like you said, everybody keeps telling me there's going to be less than 500 voters. That is utterly ridiculous. So come out, make your voice be heard. Please come out and vote.
Yeah.
So Lavar,
absolutely. I don't know what that beep beep is happening all of a sudden. But in any case, get on out, vote. Now here's the thing. I was just talking about those who accuse me of telling black folks not to vote because of challenging Democrats and Boom, here I am now telling folks get out and vote. See y'all. Y'all stop lying on a brother, okay? Get out and
Right.
vote on tomorrow in Ward 5. I live in Ward 8, so I'm not able to vote in that election. If I lived in Ward 5, I'd be voting uh, for Lavar, Click Bruce. That's what would be happening with me. And I know that I'm going to get all kinds of people talking about, oh, you can't do that. Separation of church and state and all that stuff. I am not a church.
Right.
I'm a human being. I'm a citizen. I have
Right.
every right to support anybody I want to support. This is not Spring of Hope endorsement. This is Bishop Talbert Swan telling you who he supports in this race. And my rights don't get stripped because I'm the pastor of a church. Y'all need to learn about the law before you come out with them stupid comments. Um, so, so if I lived in that ward, I'd be voting for Lavar Click Bruce. I believe he is the best candidate. He's got a proven track record, dedicated um, community servant, um, and just an all around good brother. And so I'm praying for the best for you, my brother, on tomorrow.
Thank you.
That you will come out in the top two, and that beyond that, that September 13th will render you good fortune. You deserve this, and I'm hoping to see you be victorious.
Thank you, Bishop. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Anything else you want to tell folks?
No, I just want to again, man. I want to thank you, Bishop, because I just want to make it known you have been a supporter of me on some things that I call you privately about, and a lot of people don't know, but you have guided me and advised me on some life decisions that I need to make. And a lot of people don't know that, and it's really none of their business. But I wanna publicly thank you for all of your support that you have been a true friend to me. I don't have many friends, but I can definitely count you as one of my friends. So I appreciate that. And
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate you even on your public forum, even having me and then endorsing me, because that means the world to me. Again, I'm going to work hard for Ward 5 in the city of Springfield. I have aspirations to do well for the city. That's it. It's not about popping myself up, but making sure our residents are represented properly. And I'm looking to be your next Ward 5 City Council. Please come out and support and vote on August 16th. I'm experienced, committed, and I'm ready to serve. Please and thank you, and I thank you for your consideration. And Bishop, again, thank you and your lovely wife and your lovely family for always just being there for our community. Thank you.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, brother. The best to you.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. God bless.
All right.
Lavar Click Bruce, Ward 5, special election. Their primary is popping off on tomorrow. Polls will be open all day from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then September 13th is the final one in that race. So get out and vote. Get out and vote. Let me see. LaRon Barton in the Twitter space. Get you popping. You got the microphone, man. You got the floor. Holla. Okay. I think he decided he didn't want to holler. So let me get Major up in here. Major, you got the mic.
Hey Bishop, how you doing?
I'm good. How you feel?
Fine, thank you, sir. First of all, I just want to just really come up here and thank you for doing the work. You don't just offer lip service. We have very few black members of clergy who do this work unapologetically and don't worry about what the congregation may say. Don't worry about what the opposite political party may say, what the donors may say. You do the work unapologetically, and we appreciate brothers like yourself. And I just really hope that there are other members of the clergy that are in this space or on air listening to you. And I hope that they're really inspired to do more. Thank you so much for all the work that you do.
All right. Appreciate you, brother. Well, every now and then I get some affirmation. And the crazy thing for me is is we get people who are committed to social justice advocacy and to working in the best interest of Black people. We get enough heat from crazy white supremacists. We get enough in terms of literal death threats. Folks trying to destabilize your economic future and your livelihood and all of that stuff. We get all of that. We get all of that. We don't need to then have to deal with our own people attacking us. The very people who you are standing up for, then turning around and making vicious attacks on you because you're more committed to a political party than you are to your brothers and your sisters. That, to me, that's pathetic. Good morning, caller. Good morning, caller. Yeah, I got the same ignorant person. I guess they're having a good time this morning. It's amazing to me what grown people will do. It really is. It's absolutely mind-boggling to me. Some of the things that grown-up people will actually do. Will sit around and prank call a radio show all morning long. Like, really, get a life. You're pathetic. Coming up during the 10 o'clock hour on Justice and Flow, candidate for Secretary of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is attorney Tanisha Sullivan. And she's been making waves and making headlines all over the Commonwealth. And yeah, stupid is what stupid does, Juanita. And here they go again. Let me see. Let me see. Is this the same person or not? Good morning, caller.
No, of course not.
Okay.
It's your biggest fan in Springfield, Massachusetts.
Really? All right.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Hey, it's talking about the number of people that were paroled in the state of Massachusetts in the last 20 years.
Okay.
Who's in charge of that?
Who's in charge of the number of people paroled?
Yeah, who's in charge of the parole board?
I'm sure you can.
Governor's Council. That's why.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Very important that we get a good look at this race, sir.
Yeah. So the Governor's Council, in terms of also looking at, in terms of also looking at who gets paroled, they also look at judicial appointments and a number of other things. Good morning, caller. Good morning, caller.
Yeah, you missed me.
Yeah, I said, and also in terms of who gets paroled, who gets pardoned, who gets their records expunged, what judges get placed in office. So there's a lot of things that the governor's council does, and people really don't understand what that particular body does. I got to let you go
You
because I
do
got
though.
because I got
No problem.
I got to
You're the
transition.
best.
Appreciate your
Hey,
call. Listen, I got to transition over to the spoken word, and I got to move off of WTCC. So those of you who are listening on the radio, jump on social media, and we'll meet you over there. Tanisha Sullivan is going to be coming up on Justice and Flow. Don't y'all go nowhere. Y'all want to hear what this sister has to say. She got the party nomination during the convention, and she's trying to displace an entrenched politician um, who really needs to go at this time. So stay with us. All right. Tell a friend, tell somebody that the second hour is going to be better than the first. All right. So don't y'all go nowhere. For those of you on WTCC, if you're looking for a place to worship, check us out at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ, 35 Alden Street, Springfield, Massachusetts, 11 o'clock a.m. on Sunday morning. Bible study, 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday evening. Check us out, 413hope.org. Listen, those in WTCC land, until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember God loves you. And so do I. The rest of y'all, don't go nowhere. All right. Here we is.
Good morning, old man.
What are you talking about?
Good morning, old man. Good morning. Good
Oh,
morning.
you talking to somebody in the chat? Oh, you talking to somebody in the chat?
I'm talking to you, Justice.
Oh, there's an old man in the chat. She say hello, whoever you are over there in the chat.
No,
Oh,
I'm talking to this old man with the gray in his beard and his mustache, and you know.
but I look good.
Good morning, old man. I
But
didn't,
I
I didn't, I didn't say that you didn't.
but I
I
look
didn't say
good.
that. I just said good morning, old man. We that group now.
No,
See,
no,
when
you that group.
no, when the young people are talking about senior citizens, we that group now.
No, you that group. I heard
Officially have our AARP cards and the whole nine.
no, no, I don't have one of those.
You got yours before me, and I got mine early before I turned 50 because my husband already had his.
I
So you are a part of that group.
Nope, I'm
And
not.
you ushered me into that group. So stop.
Not you turn the age to be old lady. I didn't have no control over that.
Good morning, old man. Listen, why don't you just be happy and feel blessed that we made it this far? Good
Listen,
morning, everybody. I'm so excited about the show today.
I mean, I'm about to cut you off. I'm
Hey, nephew. Good morning, everybody.
about to cut you right out of the show, and I'm gonna just do the show by myself. So there, how about that? Mm, Talking
How
that,
you doing? How you doing?
I'm chilling.
Trying to lighten it up a little bit, y'all. God has just been showing out. He's just been showing out. Can I say that? God has been showing up and showing out. He's been throwing his weight around. He's been revealing his glory. God is so good.
So let me. I've been promising them this since we're anticipating a guest today.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I told them I was going to play this clip. I told them I was going to play this clip. So, you know, one of the things that typically comes with being black um, in America, really across the world, um, is is when white folks, you know, disrespect you, when they assume certain things about you, um, when they talk condescending to you, all of that kind of stuff. You know how that goes.
I do know how that goes, but I also want to preface what you're getting ready to play by saying I think he used that terminology specifically because she's not only black but a black woman. I don't think he would have said that to anybody else. He would have used that term.
Maybe.
I think he would have tried to be shady like he was, but I don't think he would have said that word. I don't think he would have said that word. I think that word specifically for white men is for black women. Is for black women. I do.
Yeah. So and that very well may be the case. Um, um, and but our sister handled herself, or,
Like she always
or,
does.
or rather, or rather,
Class act.
or rather,
Class act.
or rather, handled him um, in a way that would make you clap your hands, uh, and yeah, she put the pieces on him. Um,
But that's what black women are doing all across. Well, I was about to say the country, but the world. But we'll keep it more local. The country. I mean, we've been handling it, for a long time. However, now, the general public gets to see it more. Gets to see it more.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a class act. She's a class act.
So I'm gonna play it. I'm not gonna let you see it, but I'm gonna play it for you. Let me tone down our
You
background.
can't let us. You can't let us see it.
You would want to see it.
Play,
Okay.
Yeah, play the video.
All right.
Play the video so everybody can see it. I think everybody needs to see it.
All right. See, I was gonna do the easy way, and now you got me. You got me having to do it the hard way. But that's okay. I'll make it do what it do when it do what it do. Let me see here. All right, let me get this up. Let me get this popping. Okay, let's see. Okay, y'all. First lady making me do it a different way than
No,
I
y'all
was.
want to see it.
Than I
Y'all want to see
was
it.
gonna do it. So let me bring this up in her. All right, let me back it up. I know, I got it. I got it. I got it. That's a song by your son.
Few comments that the secretary has made.
All right, here we go.
I have to go back to a few comments that the secretary has made.
Misunderstands actual experience. It just shows my opponent's ignorance of the office.
I want to make it clear, I am not ignorant and I am not misinformed. I am highly credentialed. A BA, a JD, MBA, I am highly experienced. 20 years of legal practice. I am highly experienced, a civil rights leader who has driven impact in this city, across the Commonwealth, and in this nation. I am more qualified and credentialed today than the day you walked into that office. I am not ignorant and I am not misinformed. What I am is centered in our communities. What I am is centered on the issues that matter most to everyday people. We have to do something to increase voter participation, and sitting behind a desk at 1 Ashburton Place is not going to get us where we need to be. I have to go back to
now watch the second time. Check the eye roll.
Actual experience. It just shows my opponent's ignorance of the office.
I want to make it clear, I am
Y'all
not
catch the eye roll?
and I am not misinformed. I am highly credentialed. A BA, a JD, MBA, I am highly experienced. 20 years of legal practice. I am highly experienced, a civil rights leader who has driven impact in this city, across the Commonwealth, and in this nation. I am more qualified and credentialed today than the day you walked into that office. I am not ignorant and I am not misinformed. What I am is centered in our communities. What I am is centered on the issues that matter most to everyday people. We have to do something to increase voter participation, and sitting behind a desk at 1 Ashburton Place is not going to get us where we need to be.
Woo! So I watched that just for the eye roll.
Like, did he really just say my opponent's ignorance of the office?
Yeah, he said what he said, but
Yeah.
you know.
And she said what she said.
And speaking of
I
which,
bet he won't say it again.
she's here now. Listen, a longtime attorney, community leader, NAACP president, and now candidate for Secretary of the Commonwealth, and who has been in Western Mass campaigning on many occasions, so she has not forgotten about this end of the state. Let me bring on our guest, Tanisha Sullivan.
Hello. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. It is a good morning.
Yes, it is a good morning.
That's a declaration,
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Did you get to see Bishop just showed the clip?
Mhm. Yeah. hmm
Oh my goodness.
That was just one of those moments where,
Mhm.
yeah, and I've had many experiences on this trail, but that was one of those moments where, you hear, because the statement was repeated multiple times during the debate, right? And so I think that was probably about the third time, and I was sitting there thinking, okay, this we can't let this pass. And
It was a charm.
it right, and it was, and for me, a few things. One, I'm very mindful of, how we are oftentimes, especially as Black women,
There you go.
characterized,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm mindful of, I was mindful in the moment of the fact that, this was airing live, it was streaming, and it was also on the radio. And during the course of this campaign, there have been so many young people who have come up to me to say that they're following this race. And so I also had a consciousness of, like, okay, who's listening to this?
Yes.
And recognizing that it wasn't about me, because, whatever, he can say whatever he wants to say about me, but I was more so mindful of who was listening and who was being impacted, not just by the words, but also would be waiting to see how I would respond. Okay. And so I really did feel compelled to respond in that moment. One, to just set the record straight. I am someone I didn't come into this race, haphazardly. I'm actually someone who I'm a practicing, you all heard it, I'm a practicing attorney. And so I understand this office through a legal lens. I'm also someone who's deeply rooted in our community. So I understand how these laws and policies are actually playing out in our community. And yes, by the way, I'm also someone who does bring to this a lived experience that is unique, but absolutely relevant in this moment. And I felt as if that was something that needed to be put into the space. And so we did.
Yeah. I really appreciate it. I told Bishop, well, first of all, I was triggered.
Well, first of all,
every
she
time
got
I
on here
heard that
calling
word.
me old this morning.
Yeah.
She got off on the wrong foot.
Oh my.
Anyway, don't get me off track, Bishop. We're in this now. We've jumped in. So, but I told Bishop though, because I was triggered too, as a Black woman, listening in, right, and following this race. Every time I hear certain language, of course, I'm triggered. So I was definitely triggered. But I told my husband, I said, I don't think he would have used that language with anyone else except a Black woman. I don't even think he would have did that with a Black man if he was running against a Black man. I think that certain language is specifically given, in settings like that towards Black women. And you're right, it creates this illusion. I was so great. I was so happy though with your response, especially the line was the line that you gave, saying that I'm more credentialed today than you were the day you walked into that office, which has been a very long time.
Right.
It's been a very long time, ago. This man has been in office, what, 20, closer to 30 years?
Yes.
30 years, and it's like, our children only have known him as the Secretary of State. We don't know anyone else. And so, but anyway, so this race is very important. It's historic. And I wanted to say to you before we start kind of asking you some questions.
Okay.
I wanted to say to you, I think I got a chance to say this to you when you came to the church service a week ago, and I met your beautiful mother. I think I got a chance to say to you, I had no idea until you decided to make the sacrifice and run for this office what the responsibilities of this office truly entailed. So this has been a real education
Yeah.
for me. And it's just amazing to me how, it's so much that we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so it goes to speak to how voter suppression has worked, even in a state like ours, especially in a state like ours.
Mm-hmm.
So it really does go to speak to how voter suppression tactics and racism is so sophisticated in a state like ours, right? But people like you reveal and expose, and certainly, from a historical perspective, what has happened and how, today we've been impacted by it.
And
So, yeah, go ahead.
no, I'm just agreeing with you. I describe this office as, arguably the most important statewide office that very few people know anything about.
Mhm.
And I say that because within this office, of course, is voting rights and elections. And
Mhm.
we know and understand how critically important voting rights are and accessing the ballot is.
Mhm.
But also in this office is the responsibility for information, public information, how
Mhm.
we access public information, what is available to the public. This is the chief information office for the Commonwealth. It is also the entry point for business. So if you want to do business in Massachusetts, you have to go through the Secretary of State's office. And we know here in
No
Massachusetts
idea.
are
Mhm.
experiencing deep economic inequality. And one of the pathways to address economic inequality is through our small business community.
Right.
And
Right.
so when I think about this office, I'm thinking about the work that we can and need to be doing on the voting rights side, but I'm also thinking about what this office can and should be doing to make sure that the public has access, we have
Mhm.
access to the information we need to hold government accountable on one hand, but also to be able to participate in
Mhm.
government. And then this last piece around economic opportunity, I see there being real opportunity for this office to provide greater supports to our small business community, especially
Mhm.
to help tackle economic inequality.
Mhm.
Ensuring that those small businesses actually have access to the resources they need to be successful. This
Mhm.
all fits under the Secretary of State's office, but we've not one, the office
No.
has been so sleepy
Mhm.
that people don't even think of it. But then
Mhm.
two, the office has not really leaned into its role as a proactive community member, a
Yeah.
proactive public servant,
Right.
um, in a way that would allow it to do more than register people to vote or issue certificates of good standing to companies.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know of so I'm a lifelong resident, and um, as someone who has started and run businesses and who pastors a church and has done a number of things, I don't know of any time where the Secretary of the Commonwealth, any arm of that office, at least here in Western Mass, has ever had an informational session,
Right.
showed people how to set up a corporation,
Mhm.
uh, done anything around voting, any of the things that you're talking about. And I'm not saying it has never happened. I'm just not aware of it ever happening. And for someone who's been embedded in the community as I have, it's a safe bet to say that if I'm not aware of it, if it has happened, it definitely hasn't happened as often as it should have.
Right. And so, for our part, what I want to see happen in that office, a few things. One, the office has to have a more consistent presence in our communities. What's interesting about the office is there's actually a Secretary of State's physical location in Springfield.
What?
Okay.
What? What?
Yes.
Who? Where? What?
so and has been there for years, but it is not an office that is engaged and connected with community. It's an office where people will go to pick up the certificate of good standing, or if they're running for office, they'll pick up or drop off their nomination papers. I want to change that. I believe that this office has to have not only the physical presence, but it's got to have the connection with the community,
the interaction,
consistently, to help advance our democracy. I believe this office should be doing more to build relationships in community that can then inspire, motivate, and encourage people to actually cast their ballot. I believe that this office should be, as I said, providing greater supports to our small business community, so that especially those small businesses have the opportunity to be directly connected to the resources they need to be successful. This office should be a conduit for that. This office should also be convening, should be convening to help ensure that as information is available to the public, that we're helping to educate people on how they can use that information, right? So for example, what good is it if a parent knows the date, time, and location of the school committee meeting if they don't know what they can do when they get there?
Right.
If they don't know that, when you show up, you actually can speak. You have a right to do so.
Right.
So there's an education part of this that should be a part of the Secretary of State's office as well. And so for me, when I think about this office, again, I am absolutely grounded in the nuts and bolts, the technical pieces of this, the legal pieces of this. I'm grounded there. I'm also grounded in the equity pieces. I'm grounded in the community pieces. And I have an understanding of how this office can play a role in helping us to advance economic justice, social justice, and racial equality. And that's what I'm bringing to the office.
Yeah, I don't think people have ever really looked at the office from that lens.
Never. From that lens, no.
Yeah, to really think that it can play a role in advancing economic justice, social justice.
But think about it, Bishop. But here's the thing: it is a constitutional office. It's one of the 6 constitutional offices. It's an executive office. We have an expectation that the governor is thinking about economic justice and economic opportunity and what they can do. We have an expectation that the Attorney General is thinking about economic justice and what they can do. The treasurer, right? And so why is it that we have left the Secretary of State out of this conversation, recognizing this office is the entry point to business in Massachusetts, not only to voting, but to business. And so we should have a higher expectation of this office. And it should have, and it shouldn't be a sleepy office. This office needs to be one of, if not the most engaged offices in our communities today.
Well, it was a sleepy office for people like us.
Okay.
So certain groups were benefiting from it being a sleepy office. One of the things that I've noticed, throughout your campaign, not only am I being educated, right? Not only have I been educated more about that office, and I'm sure it's still so much more to learn and understand. But something else that I've noticed, that's like, this man has been in this position for close to 3 decades. And the voting process feels very antiquated. Feels very antiquated here in the Commonwealth. And not only does it feel antiquated, I know for a fact that office has shown no vision, no progression And certainly, we didn't even know who he was. I knew his name because, I've been a social worker and all of that kind of stuff, and his name is, in and out a lot of, those documents and so on and so forth. But I did not know what this man physically looked like, or, or any of those things. And he never came to this part of the state that I know of or remember, with different professional settings, or whatever that I was in. So the fact that he has no vision is very concerning. And the
Well,
fact that
I
he's been
think
there for 30 years, almost 30 years, and no progression. And the fact that, we're still very antiquated in the way that we do things out of that office that's concerning as well.
I think he's been on cruise control,
Mm.
uh, basically, and people haven't paid attention. Just like a caller in the first hour talked about the governor's council, how our community just doesn't know what they do, and they don't pay attention to those particular races.
Yeah.
Two things I want to ask you about. You talked about in the debate how the office was 50 years behind. You know,
Yes.
that Maine was doing things that he's just now talking about
Yep.
doing. And then the other thing is the lack of diversity in his
Mm.
office. I
In
know
his
you
office.
underscored that,
Mhm.
and the fact that he was supposed to come back with some information. That once again, it's the office that gives information, but he doesn't have the information on the makeup of his own office. Talk about those.
Yeah. So here in Massachusetts, we are about 50 years behind on some basic voting rights. And the one that I lift up is same day or election day registration. Maine adopted same day voter registration in 1973. Since that time, 20 other states have followed suit. Um, when we talk about increasing voter participation, same day voter registration is one of the most important voting reforms Massachusetts could pass to increase voter participation. The data is very clear, even more so than vote by mail. Same day voter registration would help to increase participation rates in communities of color, among young people, among working folks. It is, if you're serious about increasing voter participation, you need to have same day. Okay. Here in Massachusetts, there has been an ongoing fight to advance same day voter registration for decades. This is not a new fight. And we still don't have same day voter registration. What people will say is that the legislature needs to act. Well, it is true that the traditional path forward is through the legislature. And it is true that the legislature, even as recently as this year, declined to move on same day. But what is also true is that the Secretary of State is the chief elections officer, the chief voting rights official. And it is the responsibility of the Secretary of State to ensure that we're getting this done. And so it is not an acceptable excuse to say that it's the legislature's fault. For me, as Secretary of State, I will, and actually, let me put a finer point on that. It is not an acceptable excuse to say that it's the legislature's fault, because it's the responsibility of the Secretary of State to work with the legislature to advance voting rights. And it is the responsibility of the Secretary of State to help the legislature understand how critical this voting right is. So it should not take us, again, a half a century to advance this basic voting right here in Massachusetts, the birthplace of democracy. The way I see this is twofold. One, as Secretary of State, I will work with the legislature to advance what is called same day or election day registration. I will do that. And work vigorously to ensure that we get it done. But if the legislature is unwilling to move on this issue, then I will support our advocacy community.
Right.
In advancing a ballot question so that the issue can go directly to the people.
Thank you.
Right. So because I come to this office with both what might be considered to be the traditional lens, right? Looking at how this has been done historically, and I also bring into this space, the lens of a grassroots advocate. We can walk down the path of directly to the legislature, or we can walk down the path that is directly with the people. I see both. And so this is a very big deal. It is an issue that we need to resolve here in Massachusetts. And it's one that, quite frankly, has just taken entirely too long.
Mhm.
Let me put give another example of this. So here in Massachusetts, back in 2016, one of our local community organizations, Chelsea Collaborative, along with Mass Vote, actually sued Bill Galvin on this issue of a voter registration deadline. And what they said was that having a voter registration deadline, at that point in time it was 20 days, denied eligible voters their right to vote.
Mhm.
Their premise is that if you have the right to vote, you should be able to decide when you exercise it. And if it is the
Right.
last day, it is the last day. And so they sued Bill Galvin, saying that having a voter registration deadline violates our right to vote. Okay. The lower court agreed with Chelsea Collaborative and Mass Vote. These are civil rights and community-based organizations. So the lower court ruled against Bill Galvin.
Okay.
Okay. Bill Galvin was saying, nope, we need that voter registration deadline. Okay. The lower court said, no, we agree with the voting rights community and the civil rights community on this.
Does his office set that deadline?
His office is part of, it makes recommendations to the legislature on the deadline, and the legislature actually codifies it into law. Okay. So Bill Galvin defended the deadline. Okay. The lower court said, nope, we agree with the community on this. We agree with the voting rights community on this, and struck down the voter registration deadline. When the lower court did that, what that meant was that we basically would have been able to advance same-day voter registration. It would have done away with the voter registration deadline. Instead of taking that voting rights win, Bill Galvin appealed.
Oh, wow.
Appealed the decision to the Supreme Judicial Court, to the highest court in Massachusetts. Now, when it got to the highest court in Massachusetts, they agreed with Bill Galvin. And they said, you know what? This is not unconstitutional to have a voter registration deadline. Okay. And so what happened functionally is, for champions of voting rights, those of us who've been fighting for same-day registration, we had a win. We had a lower court decision that said, you know what? Do away with the deadline. But then the Secretary of State said, nope, I don't agree with that, and appealed it. And in appealing that decision, closed the window.
Yeah.
And the reason that's relevant
Mm-hmm.
in this moment is that today, Bill Galvin will say, if you brought him on here, he'd say that he supports same-day registration.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you support same-day registration,
Why did you appeal?
why did you appeal?
Why did you appeal?
Because appealing is a choice.
Yeah.
Right? When you go to court and you lose a case,
Mm-hmm.
you have a choice on whether to appeal that decision or not.
Or just comply, right?
Or just comply. And he chose to appeal.
Mm-hmm.
And by appealing, he closed the window.
Mm-hmm.
He closed the window, and now we're still battling for that right here in Massachusetts. Can that approach? So, no, and at this point, it's settled law because he appealed.
And how likely is he even though he's giving lip service to it in this race. How likely is someone who appealed it and has been operating in a manner
Not
that
likely.
that says he doesn't want it to
Yeah.
work with the legislature to get it done? He's not going to do that.
And another question, Tanisha, what you know so eloquently stated. Why would you want to be the Secretary of State if you don't want to make voting rights as accessible to everybody as possible?
Right. Well, here it is. There's power in our votes.
There's power in our vote.
And who votes determines who gets elected, and who gets elected has an outsized voice in the laws and the policies that impact our daily lives. So to advance voting rights means you are increasing voter participation.
Right.
Okay.
And so I might not get elected. I might not get reelected. Right?
And so I actually, I think we have to be mindful of that, when we're doing advocacy work. We have to, right? When we're doing the advocacy work around voting rights, I think it's important for folks to understand that increasing voter participation actually will have a significant impact on who ends up getting elected.
Absolutely.
And especially if you're out of touch with voters and you're depending on a particular constituency that always goes to vote to keep you in office.
Right.
You don't want these new folks popping up who you don't connect with.
Well, you don't want them being educated.
Yeah, and who may not vote for you. Very good point. I think we got Catherine in the Twitter space. Catherine, unmute your mic. You got the floor. Go ahead with your point, Tanisha. Catherine's trying to unmute the microphone.
Yeah, I mean, so it's the voting rights, but it is also, I think this piece around economic opportunity is a big one too.
Yeah.
Really looking at how this office can be more proactive in providing supports to our small business community is critically important. The office shouldn't be one that just works for large corporations. It has to be one that is working for our small business community, because our small business community is the backbone of our economy. Small businesses employ local people. Small businesses help to improve the overall safety and well-being of our communities. Small businesses are typically owned by people who live in the community, and so strong community members and connection. And this office has a role to play in ensuring that those businesses have access to the resources they need to thrive. This is more than just issuing certificates of good standing or collecting fees. I want to activate the full power of this office to help increase economic stability in our community, to help increase the number of and the representation of small businesses in our community. That's important for a strong democracy. And, it's something that this office has not done, has not leaned in on. But guess what? It's within the power of the office to do today.
Yeah. So one of the things, Tanisha, that you're bringing out for me is, I'm just going to use Springfield because I know more about Springfield than I do, the other cities in the state. But, Springfield being the second that we go between Worcester and Springfield, whether we're the second or third, largest city in the Commonwealth. Certainly, and I'm sure everybody has told you that you've spoken to from Springfield, we oftentimes get ignored. And literally, I've heard the reason why we get ignored a lot of times is because we don't vote. At least that's the statement that's made, that we don't vote. We don't come out and vote. And I can say that when you look at things on the surface, it does look like we don't come out and vote. I found out, Tanisha, that Springfield doesn't have a registration problem. We don't have a registration problem here. I believe we have about 106,000 registered voters here in the city of Springfield. But when you look at the percentage rate of people who actually come out and vote, it literally, and this was in the white community as well. It was governing or averaging around 5 to 6% in local elections quite often. Certainly in 2020, because of the national election and what was going on with Donald Trump and all of that, we got up to around 27% in Springfield. So that was, that's very disheartening, right? That's very disheartening that, it's such a huge gap in our voting rates. But I realized that it's not as simple as apathy. I realize, it's not simple,
That's
right? It's really people like to be educated and informed about the process. And people literally register and don't know what that means. So when you say that there's been a hoarding or a, I don't know, a hiding almost of public information, I don't think people really understand what that translates into. Because, if he's been hoarding and holding back information, public information for 30 years, I can understand why people, might hear, kind of through social media, you need to vote. But, they don't understand that voting is continual. It's not just going to the polls and pulling a lever or writing a name, or whatever. They don't understand how to stay engaged. They don't understand how to get engaged. They don't understand how to be informed. And they have never been fully educated, right? They have never been fully educated on exactly what this means. And like we already know, there's so many offices, there's so many other aspects, of running a government, of running a state. And there are constitutional positions, like you said. We don't, most of us don't understand that. We don't know that. We don't know that. So, what do we need to do? Or what can we do? I know that I'm voting for you. I know that I'm encouraging everybody to vote for you because we need progress. We need advancement. We're not getting it. We haven't gotten it for 30 years. What do we need to do, though, to wake up our community or to help our community instead of just dismissing them, saying, oh, they don't come out to vote? It's not that simple.
No, it is not. And one of the things that I talk about on the campaign is like our language. Because when we're talking about use communities of color as an example, we are not disengaged. I mean, we are a very active community, right? You see it in your neighborhood, on your block, right? Like if something goes on in your neighborhood, people are coming out to figure out, okay, what's going on? What do we need to do to address it? So we're not disengaged, and we're not disinterested.
Yeah,
the challenge here is twofold. You hit on one of them. It's the understanding of how the system works. One,
right.
Two, a trust and a faith in the system. And I think, I say to folks all the time, it doesn't matter if we have automatic voter registration, to your point. It doesn't matter if we have, if registration is high. If people don't have faith and confidence in the system, they're not going to vote.
Right.
And so we have to do two things. One, we have to provide more support and put more resources into civic education in our public schools and also in our communities, so that we can help people to better understand how the system works.
Mhm.
But then the other piece is we have to work on building and restoring trust in government.
Mhm.
And that's going to happen, I believe, with the Secretary of State's office being more intentional about relationships, having relationships with community-based organizations and local elected officials and other community leaders that can then help build that trust build that trust. So then we're in a position to inspire, motivate, and encourage people to vote.
Well, I think the
Nice.
fact that you have those relationships
Right.
already
Yeah, that's
kind of jump starts that second point.
Yes.
If you are elected, let's take a call. Caller, you're on the air.
Hey, good morning. Been watching and great topic, very important topic as well. One of the things that comes to mind. I'm in Ohio, but everything that you're discussing here is applicable in every major city, throughout the country as far as our community is concerned. So the thing for me, and I'm from Cleveland originally, the thing for me is once the politicians, make it clear, hey, I'm running, then for me, it's a term that's coming, that's, being put out is tangibles. And that is, what exactly are you going to do for the vote? And, my analysis, I keep in touch with Cleveland, Atlanta, DC, Detroit. And in a lot of instances, a lot of the people running, brothers and sisters alike, are not presenting tangibles, or, when there's numerous examples, they'll put out tangibles, but once they get into office, they totally go back on all the promises that they made or all the things that they said that they were going to do. They what do you call it? They don't follow through.
Yeah.
And that's been happening time and time again. We have numerous of sisters and brothers alike who've been either investigated by the FBI, law enforcement for doing this and that, under the table deals and so on and so forth, none of which empower the people, or none of which reinforce the fact that, hey, if you give me your vote, then I'm going to make this happen, or at least try. We understand that, you got to work with your city councils, your legislatures, and so on and so forth, but at least, give a sincere effort. And so many times the people are disappointed. Whether it's the brother down in New Orleans, Ray Nagin, we got Kilpatrick in Detroit. But again, this whole thing about, how do we vet these brothers and sisters, where we can really present them with questions, and really just intellectually back them into a corner, like, hey, are you going to do what you say you're going to do if you get my vote?
All right.
That's all I got.
Appreciate you, brother. I'm going to drop the line and you can listen online.
Tanisha, you go ahead.
Okay. So a couple of things. So one, I do want to encourage folks to visit my website, TanishaSullivan.com, TANISHA Sullivan.com. And under the issues page, you'll see a very detailed policy platform that speaks to not only the larger issues, but very directly points to some of the solutions that I'd like to advance through this office, solutions that are both legislative as well as community-based initiatives. So please visit the website, TanishaSullivan.com, for more detailed information about my vision and plan for this office. The second piece I want to share is around transparency. Here in Massachusetts, the Secretary of State is the Chief Information Officer, really responsible for ensuring the transparency of government. Massachusetts is the least transparent state in the country. Massachusetts is the We exempt at the state level our legislature, our governor, and our judiciary from public records disclosure. This is not the norm across the country. And Massachusetts, as the birthplace in our democracy, I believe should be the most transparent state.
Right.
And the reason transparency matters is because twofold, two reasons why. One is accountability, and this gets to what your caller was speaking about. It's really important for us to have transparency in our government, because that then allows the people, the public, to hold our elected officials accountable for what they are doing or what they're not doing. Absent reliable access to information, we cannot have accountability. And so it's critically important from an accountability standpoint that we have greater transparency here in Massachusetts. The second is that we need information, reliable, trustworthy information, so that we can participate in governing. You know, I'm a graduate of the University of Virginia. I believe in self-governance, which is a big thing at UVA. I believe in self-governance. I believe that we have a democracy that's with, for, and by the people, should be with, for, and by the people. And in order for self-governance to work, in order for everyday people to be able to participate in government, we need access to information. There must be transparency. And so, as Secretary of State here in Massachusetts, I will work to remove the blanket exemption that exists for here in the state as it relates to public records. But I'm also going to work to ensure, again, that people know how to access this information and know how to use the information once they have it. And to be clear, that's nonpartisan. Okay, that is nonpartisan.
That is
okay.
absolutely.
That is for everybody, regardless of who you're voting for.
That's right.
Regardless of what party you affiliate with or what your beliefs are. We all need access to reliable, trustworthy information. We all need our government to be transparent. And that is the role. There is a role for the Secretary of State to play in making sure that happens. And so as Secretary of State, I will be very proactive in helping to lead that charge.
Let me see if I can get Faith Works. Faith Works in the Twitter space. Unmute your mic. You'll be the last person before we got to get off. Go ahead. You got the floor.
Thank you. I would like to say I have been getting, now I'm not in Massachusetts, but I've been getting from the candidates that donate to requests. And I'm kind of discouraged. And the reason is because I worked at an election poll. And what I observed is discouraging. I would see Democrats removed from the register. They would come in to vote, and their names were not in the register. Even though they had registration, voters' registration cards, they had their IDs, they had voted in the last election. And when we called about it, we were told, well, they can't vote. We were not told, well, they can vote provisionally. I would allow them to vote provisionally anyway, but we were told that they couldn't do this. Now, this would happen at 4 p.m. If you can get the strategy of that. It would happen about 4 p.m. So about 4 p.m., it's a little bit too late to do much about it. The poll observers, the attorneys or different people they would have there, the Democrats would do nothing. They'd be sitting there on their phones. This happened each time, okay? And the Republican observers, any little infraction, they were there breathing down your neck to make sure that everything, and when I couldn't call because I had to be neutral, but later on when we called the Democratic, after 7 o'clock, they would do nothing about it. Now, this didn't happen. This is how certain ones lost. This did not happen, I noticed, with Obama's election because his poll observers were on the case. But every other election, and I'd say there are about 4 or 5 of them, it doesn't matter how many people vote. If this is going to go on, if you're going to get the people to the polls, and their votes are going to be not allowed, if they're not going to be allowed to vote, and their registrations are somehow not found, then it doesn't matter how many people and how much money I contribute. It doesn't matter how many people show up. And this, and if it works in one state, then the word catches on, and the Republicans in different states will do this and probably do. And I'm just wondering, why is nothing done about this?
All right, we're going to give our guests a chance to answer your question. Thank you.
So thank you so much for that. And what I want, again, a couple of things I want to share. I'm going to reiterate the website, my website, TanishaSullivan.com, for folks who are here to check it out. I think it's really important to recognize is that the Secretary of State's office is critically important today. And it's not just in Massachusetts, it's across the Commonwealth. We know that our democracy is under attack. I say it time and time again here in Massachusetts, we are in an ideological civil war today. We are battling for the soul of our democracy. And it is critically important that regardless of where you live, that we're paying attention to these Secretary of State seats. These seats are the front line. They are either protecting our democracy and advancing it, or they are working to take us back. It is important who is sitting in these seats. And it is important that across the country, voters are working hard to ensure that whoever is sitting in these seats is not only going to be working to protect what's happening in their state, but is also willing to stand up alongside other secretaries of state in this fight. And so for me, here in Massachusetts, I recognize there is work for us to do, and we will do the work. We will do the work to advance democracy. We will do the work to advance voting rights. We will help to lead that charge and really serve as a beacon, a guidepost for where the rest of the country can go. But we will also, under my leadership, not leave any state behind. And so that means, I will work alongside Jocelyn Benson in Michigan, and Tanisha Ware in New Jersey, and Dr. Shirley Weber in California, to ensure that across the United States of America, we can be assured that secretaries of state are holding the line during this critical time in our democracy.
Let me ask this, because we're out of time, but this is the potential for what could happen statewide. We could wind up potentially with all women in these constitutional offices. We can wind up with Ori Healy as governor, and Andrea Campbell as Attorney General, Tanisha Sullivan as Secretary.
She'll be here this week too.
Deb Goldberg again as Treasurer. What does that mean? What is the significance of that?
It's very significant in the sense that, all of these candidates you mentioned are of course, qualified, credentialed and qualified for these jobs. But also, proven leaders who will bring to these offices a different perspective, a different lens. And, we're living in different times. And so if we want to advance, we need to do some things differently. And that means changing out some of these seats. Having in these offices individuals who not only bring strong professional credentials, but also have demonstrated track record of working in our communities and have lived experience that I believe can really help move Massachusetts forward, could be a game changer here. I do want to also lift up for folks, if you're interested in helping us on this campaign, regardless of where you live, on our website, you can sign up to volunteer. We are phone banking and text banking, just like folks will phone bank and text bank for Georgia. From Massachusetts, we need Georgians to phone bank and text bank.
Right. That's right.
And so you can live anywhere and provide support to this campaign. Phone banking, text banking. If you know of anyone who lives in Massachusetts, just shoot them a little text right now and let them know to vote for me in this election or to check our website out. The last piece is we're raising funds. The fact of the matter is I've challenged a 27-year incumbent who had $1.8 million in the bank on day one when we had zero. We have outraised him this year, but we are still very far behind him when it comes to the dollars. And so any contribution is incredibly helpful. You can also contribute through our website as well. If you believe that this moment demands more, if you believe that we deserve more, right? And I do ask that you join us by either volunteering to text or phone bank or to canvas, or make a contribution, a financial contribution to our campaign.
You got
Tanisha, one more thing about your donation. I'm sorry, Bishop. One more thing about your donation. Is your website the only way we can donate? Because I definitely want to encourage everybody that's listening to like and share this video today. Certainly, I'm challenging everybody to make a $25 donation. I'm making one today. I'm challenging everybody to follow me by making a donation today. So please give us more information about that. But I also want you to wrap up by telling us about how important it is to vote in the primary in 3 weeks on September 6th. Please don't forget to talk about that, and also give us other ways that we can stay connected to you and also donate to your campaign.
Thank you so much. So yes, here in Massachusetts, our state primary is coming up on September 6th. There are 3 ways to vote. You can vote by mail, you can early vote starting August 27th, or you can vote on September 6th. It's critically important that we participate in the primary here in Massachusetts, especially because although there will be a November election, here in Massachusetts, a lot of the decisions are actually made in December. I'm a Democrat. I am actually the endorsed Democrat in this race. I received 62.4% of the vote from the Mass Dems party to earn that endorsement. And in this race, as with so many others, the decisions will be made in September. And so we have to vote in this primary. If there's a candidate you're excited about, whether it's me or it's someone else, you gotta vote in September, because if you don't, we might not make it to November. So September 6th is the final day. Here are some dates to keep in mind in Massachusetts. You must be registered to vote by August 27th. Please check your voter registration status today. August 27th is the deadline to register to vote for the primary. And then make a vote plan. Either decide that you're gonna vote by mail, or that you're gonna early vote, or that you're gonna show up at the polls on September 6th. Keep in mind, September 6th is the day after Labor Day. So if you think that you might be out of town, or you might be sleeping in because you had a long weekend, or if it's the first day of school for your children, please consider early voting or consider vote by mail. Most importantly, we need you to vote. This primary, September 6th, is the last day.
When is the first day of early voting again?
August 27th. It's a Saturday.
It's the same as the registration deadline.
Exactly. There is one Sunday during early vote. It is Sunday, August 28th. So that would be a wonderful day if you're going to service.
Polls to the polls.
And the significance of that date, that's the date of the March on Washington.
Yes.
Thank you, Bishop.
Polls to the polls.
Okay, exactly. So we have got to make sure that we're making it to the polls in Massachusetts, one way or another. We have to make sure that our voice is heard by September 6th. Critically important. This is a statewide office, so it does not matter where you live. This office will be on your ballot in Massachusetts. This is not one to skip. Mm-hmm. And as Bishop shared, we have an opportunity this cycle to usher in a wave of new leadership that can really help propel Massachusetts forward, and as a result, really help Massachusetts become a pace setter for the rest of the nation. But we need to make sure that all of it's working together.
I just one more thing, Tanisha. One more thing before you go. I need for you to talk to your D9 community, and I also need for you to talk to your faith community. Yes, and tell them how important it is for them to support you in this election.
Speaking of D9, your soror is coming for our Freedom Fund this year.
Oh, which one?
Bishop Vashti McKenzie.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, that's going to be wonderful. So yes, I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And, look, for all of our organizations in the D9, we know that we are deeply rooted in political engagement and social action. That is how we all got started. That is one of the common threads that is woven through all of our organizations. Doesn't matter what color you wear, we understand and have a deep commitment to political and social action. We understand the importance and power in our vote. Here's the thing. We are entering a new phase in the civil rights movement, and it is the phase of voting for the sake of choosing others. We are now in a phase where we get to vote for ourselves.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And in order for us to really be able to move forward, in order for us to be able to increase representation in our government, in order for us to be able to usher in an era where our voices are heard, and we have the ability to ensure that we are truly impacting our communities directly, we've not only got to get out and vote, we've got to vote and support one another. And so I am asking my D9 family for your vote, and I'm also asking for your feet. Yes. Please volunteer for this campaign with a standout, with a canvas. We can text bank, we can phone bank. I need you. And so I do ask for your support. And what we know from a faith standpoint is that I'm a Christian. And, we serve a God who is about justice and freedom and equality.
Yes.
We serve a God who is centered on people in ensuring that we are whole and that we are well. The Secretary of State's office has a very important role to play in ensuring that all of us, no matter who we are, where we live, where we come from, how long we've been here, that we're all experiencing the promises of this country: freedom, justice, and equality. There is power in our vote. We talk about it all the time, but there's also freedom in our vote. There's justice in our vote. There's equality in our vote. And so from a faith standpoint, it is critically important that we're putting that faith into action. Yes, I ask for your prayers, but I need that faith into action. Faith without works is dead.
Dead.
Please, sisters and brothers in Christ, I ask for, yes, your prayers. I also ask that you be willing to pick up your phone and text and call folks and let them know about this important election and ask them to support me. Thank you so very much.
Praying folk vote.
All right.
Thank you.
That wraps up this edition. Thank you, Tanisha. Appreciate you being here so much.
Thank you so much.
As you continue on the campaign trail, and anything you need from us, you know how to get us.
We got
you. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
All right. You too. Bless you.
All right, y'all. That wraps up another edition of Justice and Flow. And I've been on here with an old lady, I guess, since I'm old. And she's only 2 years younger than me. She must be old too. So that's that.
I'm younger though. I'm younger than you.
Listen, Wednesday Bible study 7:30. Monday we'll be back at it with the spoken word at 9, Justice and Flow at 10. Until the next time we talk to you and y'all talk to us, always remember God loves you. So do we. Peace.